Alright, Oil and Gas Board, Chapter 419, State Oil and Gas Board of Alabama, Governing Onshore Land Operation Administrative Code. Chapter 419, Safety Environment, Table of Contents, 41901, Notification, Fire, Spill, Leak, or Blowout, O2 Operation involving hydrogen sulfide. O3, Transportation Waste associated with the oil and gas operation, O4, Hydraulic Fracturing. Alright, notification fire spill leak of the blowout. The supervisor shall be notified immediately if the fire spill leak of the blowout occurs related to the operation of any of the well production process with the storage class 1 and class 2. Injection facility, underground storage facility, plant, any gathering line, flow line operation, including but not limited to drilling, completing, testing, recompletion, reworking, producing, processing, storing, injecting, gathering, transporting, or metering. Such notification shall include information pertaining to the description and the location of the county, section, township, of the range of the extent of the damage of the life of the environmental corrective action taken. If it is deemed necessary for the agent of the board with the form OGB 27, the notification fire spill leak blowout with the incident report should be submitted to the board within 10 days of the incident with the however that shall speak. Spill leak leaves the location form OGB 27, the notification fire spill leak of the blowout of the incident report shall be submitted to the board within 10 days. The operator shall immediately take the appropriate action, clean up spill of the repair leaks, extinguish fires, bring blowouts under control. Additional, the operator shall notify the appropriate governmental agency for the incident. 401-902, the operation involved with the hydrogen sulfide. The rules shall apply for the all operation. Account for the could be reasonably with expect for the account for the oil and gas considers containing hydrogen sulfide, whatever the measures should be taken to control the effects of the hydrogen sulfide. All operation hydrogen sulfide concentration symptoms are equal to 100 parts per million or more. Such operations shall include, but are not limited to drilling, completing, or recompleting, reworking, testing, producing, gathering, metering, cleansing, processing, storing, transporting, and injecting. Operator responsibility. Each operator should conduct the operation in accordance with Section 2 through 7 and 10 and 11 below. Section 8 requires each operator to file a certificate of the compliance. Each operation accounted for the could reasonably with the expected encounter oil and gas containing hydrogen sulfide. Be any of the person submitting the application in exchange with the operator pursuant to the Rule 401-205. Any of the existing sour gas well plant othering lines shall comply with the requirements of this rule. Exemption Section 2 through 7 that may be obtained with the filing a certificate of compliance with the supervisor directed in subsection 9 below. Variants of the well that variances to or waivers from the specification of the rule may be granted by the supervisor shown with a good cause of the operator. 2. Safety program. Safety program should be established, maintained with the promote safety procedure with all of the personnel assigned with the contract with the employee shall be ensured with the head of the hydrogen sulfide include with the physiological response. The application of first aid of the victims of the hydrogen sulfide exposure. 3. The equipment and materials. All equipment and materials will be exposed with the income reasonably be expected to be exposed with the hydrogen sulfide should be designed and maintained with the resist of the damage caused by hydrogen sulfide, cracking, brittlement, corrosion with the design shown in accordance with the applicable National Association Corrosion Engineers Standard warning systems and warning signs and security for above ground fixed surface facility with the operator shall post with the permitted law with clearly visible warning signs with the public street with the roads inside with the radius for the exposure. 2. If palpable areas such for the town's facilities ready for the sign with the consider the applicable with the alternate warning plan with approved with the written question to supervisors. 3. Unless otherwise approved by the supervisor intended supervisor service facility with the trouble defense and locked as different and deterrent for the public access for the radio exposure for the radio radius exposure over the 50 feet or that includes public area within radius exposure for the equal to the greater 1/2 mile unless otherwise approved for the supervisor for the inland tenant of the storage facility shall have the access for the site with a limited log gate with a radius exposure for the grave within 50 feet but it does not include for the public area. B. Monitors. Unless otherwise approved by the supervisor of each of the real working over testing production plant facility shall be the hydrogen sulfide monitoring system which activates visible alarm for the concentration of hydrogen sulfide exceeds 10 parts per million in the air. Audible alarm when the concentration of hydrogen sulfide exceeds 20 parts per million in the air. This system should be capable of sensing a minimum of 55 parts per million in the air. Warn a minimum of hydrogen sulfide sensors onshore with the drilling and the work over the rig should be located with the rig flooring over the bend, nipple, shell, shaker, of the mud pits for drilling operation for the monitoring. All parts of the system should be on site with the operational prior to the penetrating. Hydrogen sulfide bearings are in the corner for the time of the specified with the contingency plan site. Equipment should be on with the site with the operational prior to commencing all of the operation involved with the hydrogen sulfide. The operator should with each of the modification with the well plant with the facility install with the maintain monitoring alarm system with the well with the plant side with the design to detect continuing escape hydrogen sulfide. 3. The operator shall unplug and inactivate the well, such as the established safety procedure approved by the supervisor, which is designed to prevent the undetected continuing escape of the hydrogen sulfide. The operator of each well production injection well processing facility plants to the facility shall install to maintain an operable condition and safety devices, including the automatic shutdown devices designed to prevent the undetectable consequent continuing escape of the hydrogen sulfide. Safety devices shall be maintained with the industry standards. Wind direction equipment. Wind direction equipment should be installed with the proponent locations on or near the drilling, working, over testing, planning facilities that indicate the wind direction all the time to save the upwind in the area that hydrogen sulfide becomes present in the atmosphere. Danger signals. Danger signals consist of sign flags should be displayed with all manner visible with the traffic approaching facility. All signals should be illuminated under the condition limited visibility. When in use of illumination not feasible with the signal must be constructed with the reflective material covered with a reflective plan so that they are readily visible to the other light sources of the automobile. The danger sign should be displayed with the indicate the following operational conditions required. The color of the green should indicate possible danger for the concentration of hydrogen sulfide less than 10 million parts per million in the air. Color yellow should indicate a moderate danger for the concentration of hydrogen sulfide reaches 10 parts per million in the air. With the concentration of hydrogen sulfide reaches 20 parts per million in the air. Breathing apparatus should be worn at all of the personnel and non-essential personnel to proceed to safe breathing areas. 3. The color red should indicate with extreme danger with the concentration of hydrogen sulfide reaching 50 parts per million in the air. With the non-essential personnel will evacuated immediately with a notification given the local civil authorities and the traffic immediately vicinity of the facility shall be diverted. The State and Oil Gas Board or the appropriate governmental agency shall be notified as soon as possible when the condition of extreme danger exists. Training requirements. Each operator shall operate with the subject for this run. Rules shall provide with the personnel responsible for his operation. Send the list of his training sessions will may be detained with the operator. Training of the personnel shall include the following limits: safety precaution, operation, safety equipment, and life support system, corrective action, shutdown procedure for the effect of the metal components of the system, personal safety equipment. Breathing apparatus shall provide with a readable access, readily be accessible. With the minimum requirement should be provided with a self-contained breathing equipment for all personnel that could be exposed with a hydrogen sulfide concentration excessive of 10 parts per million in the air. A system of breathing air manifolds held with the mass provided with the brake fluid with all the drilling work over the operation. Hydrogen sulfide concentration reaches the 20 parts per million in the air over the operation. Rechargeable cascade with the air bottle system shall be provided to refill with the individual bottle with the breathing air with additional equipment such as the first aid kit with the earplug with the spectacle kits. Portable hydrogen sulfide detectors retrievable with a rope with the hardens, chalkboards, notepads, bullhorns, flashing lights, resuscitators, and litter shall also be available. For drilling operation of the equipment, especially with the section 6A with the 6B with the job with the operational with the pertaining to the hydrogen sulfide bearing zone said the equipment should be the unsafe with the operational problem with the commencing all of the operation involved with the hydrogen sulfide. D. Explosion proof ventilation devices should be provided with the critical work area with the drilling work over the test of the plant facility with the multi-directional capable with the dispensing hydrogen sulfide vapors. E. Hydrogen sulfide detected with the frequent inspections all over the air with a poor ventilation should be made with the hydrogen sulfide detector instrument and personal hydrogen with the hydrogen sulfide detector should be made available to the personnel contingency plan. Alright, an operation of the handle gap will contain 100 parts per minute with the hydrogen sulfide more, but the system has more formulated with the contingency plan unless under Section 9 with the contingency plan must be in place with the specified with the form OGB 24. Operator certificate in compliance for the operation involved with the hydrogen sulfide prior to the commencement of the following operation pertaining to the hydrogen sulfide bearing zone during the drilling operation, working over the recompleting well with the hydrogen sulfide bearing zone. 3. Completing a temporarily abandoned well in a hydrogen sulfide bearing zone. 4. Testing and putting into permanent production a well with the hydrogen sulfide bearing zone. 5. Producing hydrocarbons bearing hydrogen sulfide into sour flow line, sour gathering line. 6. Starting up a plant or facility that will remove the hydrogen sulfide from production. 7. Implementing a modification of existing operation facility with an increase of the radius exposure and energy for the public result with a change of the applicable of the requirements of this rule. B. A contingency plan shall include the following: 1. A plat coverage of the area for the exposure of the area for the radius of the 1 mile, whichever the grade of the plat shall include the location of the well plant for the corridor showing all of the good roads for the residency of the public area, place for the area of the low elevation. Hydrogen sulfide might accumulate with the direction prevailing winds, oil, gas well separated with the heater of the corridors, gathering pipeline system, pumping with the station of the plants for the transformer, the station of the other mandible structure feature that may be important. 2. An index of the house, of the place of the business, the telephone number, the names, and the number of the residents employees, as well as the identification resident, the need with the assistance evacuation shall accompany with the plan with the index shall be limited to these houses, places of business located within a radius of 1 mile with the radius of the exposure wherever the greater. 2. Information about safety program established in Section Training Requirements Section 5 of the Personal Safety Equipment required with Section 6 of the location brief of the area responsible for personal during different operational conditions. Description of the warning sign with the required. Section 4 include the number, location, detection limit to all miners as well with the schedule for the calibrating testing of the said system. 5. For drilling operation specification with the time of the warning system required in subsection 4 of the personal safety required in subsection 6 will be on the site operational. 6. Procedure to evacuate residents and business in public place. If the proceed with the direct traffic immediate with the vicinity, notify the local civil authorities, state, oil, gas board, other appropriate governmental agencies. 8. Procedure to evacuate non-essential personnel over the well with the facility and event with attempts to control the well or facility unsuccessful. 9. List including the name and the address for the telephone numbers of the closest hospitals and ambulance or for the medical personnel or other individual facility that could assist with an event with emergency. 10. With the name of the address, the telephone numbers of the individual charged with administering the plan. Any other information the operator deems appropriate. 12. Other information deemed necessary for the supervisor. C. The contingency plan should be amended with any sufficient change of the public exposure caused by public infringement of the existing radius of exposure requirements, such for the changes that may be made. Otherwise, contingency plan for each of the facilities should be reviewed, updated on an annual basis. 3. Copy the contingency plan should be available to the inspection supervisor. The location indicated with the form OGB 24 for the operator certificate and plan for the operation involved with the hydrogen sulfide should be provided for the local civil authorities prior to the commencing any one of the operation set forth in section 7 and 8 with readily available to drilling work over the testing plant facility. 8. Certificate of compliance. Operator certificate of compliance with the operation involved with the hydrogen sulfide form OGB 24 shall be filed with the triplicate with the supervisor for each of the facility with the operating involved with the hydrogen sulfide subject to any of the requirements of the rule. The certificate of the compliance may come for the single operation, multiple operation located in and within the field. Description of the type of the operation communicated with the form OGB 214 most sufficient to define facility covered each of the operative shall maintain a current list of the operation covered by the certificate of compliance of the list of the most available to the inspection certificate upon request. Certificate of compliance shall certify that the operator has complied with the will and complied with the applicable requirements of this rule. Each drilling operation certificate of compliance should be filed with the approved with the supervisor prior to the application of drill. The facility involved with the other type of the hydrogen sulfide operation set forth in section 7 and 8 certificate shall be filed with and approved with the supervisor prior to the commencing with these operations. And D. A new and amended certificate of compliance should be required with these times of the change of the public exposure called the public infringement existing radius of exposure result with the change of the applicable provisions of the rule not described with the existing certificate. The operator shall file with the new and amended certificate within 30 days after any of the operator becomes aware of such infringement. A new and amended certificate of compliance should be required within if there is modification of existing operation for the facility that increase the radius of exposure of the public and a result of the change of the applicable provisions of the rule that does not describe the existing certificate. The operator shall file with the new amended certificate at least 30 days prior to initiating operation construction. Approval certificate must be granted by the supervisor prior to the commencing of the operation and construction. For the drilling operation certificate of compliance submitted with the permit shall remain in effect with the of the completion of the testing well securing the operation provided with the remains in place. If the rig is removed with the private is pursued with amended with the certificate accompanied with the schematic location show of the monitoring system with the test equipment. The location shall be submitted with the monitoring test system and the test equipment must be approved with the supervisor prior to initiating the test procedure. Each facility operation which is certificate compliant with has approved the recertified operative for the annual base for the recertification is filed with the supervisor within 30 days of the anniversary of the most recent and approved the certification compliant with the facility with the operation recertification not required for the operation containing less than 100 parts per million hydrogen sulfide. Rules exemption for section 2 through 7 must be obtained by the following certificate of compliance described below. Each operator to determine the hydrogen sulfide concentration gas mixture and operation system. 1. The test should be made in accordance with the standard AS American Society Testing Materials D 238566 Gas Processors Association Plant Operation Test Manual C1 Gas Processor Association 226568 is reserved with the other methods approved by the supervisor. To test vapor accumulation storage tank may be made in the industry except the colorimetric tubes. To obtain the exemption with this rule of the radius exposure for the determined except for the K for the store of the use of the following Pascal Gifford equation by any other method satisfactory to the supervisor. For determination record, radius exposure X is equal to 1.589 times the mole fraction of hydrogen sulfide times the Q, and Q meaning the max volume of the determined variable of the escape of the standard cubic feet per day. Volume used for the shape of the ray is determined. The radius exposure shall be specified as below with the applicable maximum daily viewing rate contained with the hydrogen sulfide handled with the system, which is the radius exposure. The calculated tube for the existing gas well with the estimated maximum open flow potential should be used, or a new well drilled within the developed area of the maximum escape rate shall be determined using the estimated maximum flow potential of adjacent wells field. For the escape rate, be determining the radius for the exposure is correct with the standard conditions of 14.65 pounds per square inch. And 60 degrees Fahrenheit. For drilling a well in an area with the insufficient data exists with the calculated the radius exposure, but the hydrogen sulfide may exist if the radius for the exposure made 1/2 mile should be assumed with the lattice, or assumed radius may be conserved the permanent request letting out with the justification. Alright, storage tanks will be utilized for the production cooperation with the operative with the near of the atmospheric pressure except for the section 2 and 4 and 7 however the vapor accumulation hydrogen sulfide concentration except for the 500 parts per million. The storage tank shows with the following: 1 storage tank except for the section 4, 6B, C, D, and E, and 7 only. 2 with the warning sign show with the within 50 feet of the facility to alert the general public of the potential danger. 3, finally, fencing out a security measure for the required for the storage tanks are located inside of the limits of the town or city with the where conditions cover the storage tanks to be exposed to the public of F. Operation radius exposure less than 50 feet with except for the sections 2 through 7 of the with filing a certificate of compliance provide. No public would include within 1/2 mile of the operation radius exposure with greater than 50 feet less than 1 mile. Except through section 4B through 7 of the following certificate of compliance. H. Operation radius exposure for the E with the greater than 50 feet that includes public area if the equal to the greater than 1/2 mile but not eligible for the exemption of the section. Well testing procedure with the well testing procedure with the well with the hydrogen sulfide should be connected in accordance with the section. Well testing will be performed with the minimum number of personnel with the immediate vicinity of the location during the test should be used with the hydrogen sulfide detection quest and intensified. Also for the units for the relay with equipment that will handle exposure of the procedure fluids contained with hydrogen sulfide should be designed with the hydrogen sulfide services. All produced gas of the ventilated and flared shall be produced through a flare system that has been designed to gather burn hydrogen sulfide safely. Flare lines should be located with a distance sufficient to compensate for the wind change. The flare system should be equipped with a pilot and automatic lighter. Backup ignition with each of the flares should be provided with gas from the stored test fluid should be vented into the flare system. Test operations produced with the gas. Flares should comply with the permit regulations to the other state of the federal agencies. 11 sour flow lines, sour gathering lines. In addition, with the requirements set forth in Rule 400.1803 with the pertaining with the gathering lines, the following apply with the operation of sour flow and sour gathering lines. Approved procedures. Following information applied with the design, construction, maintenance of the sour flow lines and sour gas lines should be submitted. Sour gathering lines should be submitted by approval by the supervisor. Description, corrosion monitoring, inspection programs, description, safety systems, including shutdown procedure for the design, the check with the continuing with escape of the hydrogen sulfide. The following certification signed the dated with the title of the company representative. Operator certified with the sour flow line or sour gathering line has been designed will be installed with respect for the needs to exceed the accepted industry standard for the gas and liquid line for the hydrogen sulfide service. Certified planning with the future modifications sour gathering line, sour flow line should be also submitted and approved by the supervisor prior to making such modification. 4. Brief of the public notification set forth within Section C with the evidence of the public has been and will be given the notice opportunity to comment on the proposed work through the public notification procedure with any of the agency they have permanent authority. 5. Additional information when required by the supervisor. C. Modification or repair. Any modification of the sour flow line or sour gathering line may be submitted and approved by the supervisor prior to making such modifications. Such operations may include, but not limited to, the addition source of the incoming side stream and the increase of the pressure for the capacity. Any of the modification which alter the accuracy of the information previously submitted prior to the placing of the line back into, so for the operator shall recertify with the gathering line. Remedial action replace with the damaged sour flow line, sour gathering lines may be performed after an approval of the supervisor. Repair with the do not alter accuracy with the information previously submitted are not subject to recertification. Public participation in order to afford the public an opportunity to participate in the manner of the operator shall comply with the following procedure. For the operator shall cause to be placed in the newspaper having the general circulation of the county for the counties in which the proposed line will be located with a notice setting forth a description of proposed operation. The operator shall provide the supervisor proof of the publication with such notice. The notice shall state with during the 15th day of the following publication of the notice, interested party may obtain with additional information concerning the proposed operation, submitting comments for the state of the oil, gas, supervisor, public PO Box A69999 Tuscaloosa, Alabama 354866999. Notice of the state of the public meeting may be requested for the interested party anytime during the 15 days to comment period. If no public meeting is scheduled for the supervisor of the expiration of the day of 15 period of the application involved with the requirements of the above, then the supervisor may approve of the application. If deemed appropriate for the supervisor of the board, will publish for the notice of the conduct of the public hearing in lieu of the addition of the public hearing described in section C3 of the above. The public hearing shall be in accordance with the rule 47101 and Tennessee with the relating rules of regulation governing. Prior to proceed with the application will be granted with the denied with the modified of the board after hearing the 6 of the supervisor waive the requirements of the section after reviewing the description of the proposed operation. Alright, section 4001903, transportation waste associated with oil and gas operations. Certificate eligible to transport waste. No transport shall transport waste for the sale of the transport certificate eligible to transport waste form OGB 25 is approved by the supervisor and organization report form OGB 5 is prescribed in the rules 4001204 have been filed with the board with the said approval of the transport certificate shall have within 2-year period may be renewed every 2 years following a new organization report form OGB 5. If any transporter proceeds to modify with the amendment of the transport certificate eligibility for the transport waste, the form OGB 25 shall be submitted and approval by supervisor CU revocation of certification eligibility transport waste whenever the transporter waste shall have the fail to comply with the applicable laws and applicable rules regulation of the board applicable to transport with the certificate eligibility of the transport waste form OGB 25 shall be revoked. Supervisor board shall provide written and notice for the transport of the revocation and transportation shall be immediately discontinued transportation reporting waste until further notice from the supervisor or board. 3. Waste manifests. A. Every shipment of waste shall be accompanied by the waste manifest form OGB 26 at the time of the transfer of the operator shall with an issue of the manifest complete with the signed part 1 after transport completes and signs part 2 of the operator pertaining with a copy of the manifest. All of the copies shall accompany with the waste shipment of upon the receipt with the waste for the disposal shall complete with the part 3 of the manifest. The transporter shall retain the transporter's copy upon completion of the manifest. The disposer shall retain the disposer's copy in the mail with the original copy to the operator within 10 days. He, the operator, transported, disposer shall the maintain file copies of completed manifest over the period of at least 5 years of the said files. Copies should provide with the two of the board upon request by the supervisor. Oil gas operation for the which waste are transported out with the state that must comply with the manifest system requirements. 4. Unit field-wide operation. In the case of the utilize or field-wide operations where the transporting of the waste is confined with the geographical boundaries of the unit and with the field for the operator may be eligible to the following exemption. When the operation also supervises the generator of the transport disposal, the operator may request exemption for the manifest system upon filing and receiving the approval of the transport certificate eligible for the transport waste for the form OGB 25. When operators serve the generator with the disposal of the contract for the transport with another party, but the operator may request the exemption of the manifest upon the transport filing and receiving the approval of the transport certificate eligible for the transport waste form OGB 25. The transporter shall require the file of the transport storage monthly report form OGB 16. Alright, 4001904 hydraulic fracturing. Each formation shall hydraulically fracture so that not to cause irreparable damage to the oil and gas well or to the adversely impact with fresh water supply well with any freshwater resources. A proposal to fracture the formation shall be accompanied with a check for the bank draft with the amount of $250 for the payable to state with the treasurer state with the LBM which some of the fixed for the fee with each of the proposal have with no case shall be paid for the concurrent hydraulic fracturing operation and singly well exceeding $750 regardless of how many formation for the hydraulically fractured. When the purpose of the hydraulically fractured is associated with a horizontal well, then the fee shall be $250 for each segment of the stage of the horizontal well in which the hydraulic fracturing operation is conducted out with no case shall the amount will be over $750 in connection with the concurrent hydrofraction operation single well with the fee shall be deposited with the Alabama State Oil of the Gas Board Special Fund pursuant to Section 917-24 of the Code of Alabama 1975. 3. A formation shall not be hydraulically fractured until the approval of the supervisor obtained in order to receive the approval of the supervisor. Proposal of the fracture shall include the following: well bore schematic showing with the specification of the casing of the completing program and including with the pressure test with the depth of the info with the name of the formation to be fractured. B. Geophysical cement bond logs. C. A program descriptive proposal of the fracturing operation information to be considered the shall include but not limited to the maximum length of the orientation of the fracture to be promulgated, the type of the fluid material that are to be utilized for the program. Hydraulic fracture should be prepared by the person and even familiar with the technicalities of fracturing formations in the area of the fracturing operations are proposed of the program. filled with the board shall identify with the person of that need that prepared with the fracturing program, and the company provide a letter operating stating that its intent with the application recurrent filling fracturing program will not be necessary if the program has previously been submitted to the supervisor with the directive applicable to the fracturing proposal. Under consideration, modification to a fracturing program that would alter maximum length of the orientation of the fracture to be promulgated, the type of fluids materials to be utilized shall be submitted to the supervisor prior to the implementation in the field. A. Inventory prepared for the operator identified with all freshwater wells within 1/4 mile radius for the well to be fractured regardless if the freshwater supply with the well shall be used for the operator in delineating the wall. Legal construction completion depths of the in such supply wells, so the records of the Geological Survey of Alabama shall be the primary source of the information used in the evaluation process. Additional, the operator shall conduct the field reconnaissance within 1/4 mile radius of the subject well, determine the location of additional freshwater supply wells that may not be identified previously described in the documents. If possible, construction information for additional fresh water supply wells must be obtained. Consideration shall be given. Records of all freshwater supply wells available. The operator shall report with the results of his finding to supervisor. Fracturing operator shall not be conducted if it is determined that any freshwater resource of any of the freshwater supply well located within 1/4 mile radius of the subject well could be adversely impacted as a result of the fracturing operation. And a statement by the operator affirming that the supervisor of the writing of the well construction on the pressure of the test result of the geophysical for the cement bond logs have been evaluated. The result of the evaluation indicating that the proposed hydraulic fracturing operation could be conducted without adverse impact to any freshwater supply wells or any freshwater resource. For the reviewing the proposal of the hydraulic fracturing, the supervisor shall consider whatever proposed hydraulic fracturing operation should for the formation of the fractured lies beneath the impervious stratum. Whether the fractured fluid is to be utilized will be remaining formation to be fractured, and 3. Whether the casing is effectively cemented in place. 4. Diesel oil and fuel is prohibited to any fluid mixed used in hydraulic fracturing or of a formation. 5. Supervisor may request a submittal with additional information in order to clarify a proposal of the hydraulic fracture of the formation. The operator shall maintain all the records associated with each of the proposals approved by the supervisor. Implemented with the operator hydraulic fracture formations for the time of the subject well that has been plugged for the permanent abandonment not less than 3 years following the completion of the fracturing operation. Upon request of the copies of these records shall be made available to the supervisor. Alright, 7. In order to provide adequate disclosure of the well stimulation fluids utilized for the hydraulic fracturing operation, the operator shall provide with the board A description of the fracturing fluid identified by additive, the acid, proponent, and surfactant, and 2. The name of the chemical compound with the chemical abstract served with the registry number, the served with the registry number, to exhibit the publisher with the chemical abstract served with the division of the American Chemical Society for each constitute the additive of the base fluid. 3. The operator is not required to disclose the information that is deemed to be trade secret. However, the information deemed to be trade secret shall be disclosed that is necessary for the proper medical diagnosis, treatment, or other form of response. And within 30 days after the fracturing of a well, the operator shall post the information on the Frac Focus website. Alright, and that was safety and environment.